Russia unleashed the largest wave of airstrikes on Ukraine in almost 3 months in the early hours of Sunday morning. Ukrainian officials said 120 missiles and 90 drones were deployed in a sweeping overnight attack that targeted critical infrastructure. Several people have already been reported dead around the country, from Lviv in the west to Dnipropetrovsk in the southeast. This footage shows missiles being shot down over the capital, Kyiv. Only hours later, emergency services could be seen carefully extracting the remnants of a missile that bypassed air defences from the top of a residential building. The attack has caused severe damage to Ukraine's power system, the country's largest private energy provider said, and triggered emergency power cuts in numerous regions. Ukrainians have for weeks been bracing for such an attack, expected to cause long blackouts and ramp up psychological pressure just as winter sets in. What's more is that the latest wave comes as the war approaches this week's 1,000th day since Russia's full-scale invasion. The latest onslaught piles more pressure on Ukraine as Moscow's troops notch up their fastest battlefield gains in the east since 2022. The Russian effort to seize the entire industrial Donbass region comes despite troops taking heavy losses, according to Kyiv and the West. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said the strikes appeared to be Moscow's true response to leaders interacting with President Vladimir Putin. It was an apparent swipe at German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who called the Russian leader on Friday for the first time since late 2022. Although Scholz urged Putin to pull his troops out of Ukraine, where they occupy a fifth of the country. The strikes also come just 10 days after Donald Trump won the US presidential election and pledged to end the war. Although Trump has not revealed how he would end the conflict, it has raised the prospect of a looming push to hold negotiations.
President Joe Biden's administration is giving the green light to Ukraine to use US-made weapons to strike deep into Russia. That's according to 2 US officials and a source familiar with the decision. This military drill video shows the Army Tactical Missile Systems, or ATACMS, which have a range of nearly 200 miles. Sources say the rockets will likely be used in Ukraine's first long-range strikes, and that those attacks could happen within days. The shift marks a significant reversal of Washington's policy in the Ukraine-Russia conflict. For months, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been pushing to allow his country's military to use U.S. weapons to hit Russian military targets far from the border. On Sunday, he said the missiles would speak for themselves. Russia has warned it would see looser limits on U.S. weapons as a major escalation. And one Russian lawmaker warned the decision could lead to World War III, according to the TASS news agency. Sources said the change is largely in response to Russia's deployment of North Korean ground troops to supplement its own forces. Meanwhile, President-elect Donald Trump is set to take office in about 2 months. It's not clear if he'll reverse Biden's decision, but he has long criticized the scale of U.S. aid to Ukraine and has vowed to end the war quickly, without explaining how. While some U.S. officials have expressed skepticism that allowing long-range strikes will change the war's overall trajectory, the decision could help Ukraine at a moment when Russian forces are making gains, and possibly put Kyiv in a better negotiating position when, and if, ceasefire talks happen. The White House and the State Department declined to comment. A Trump spokesperson did not immediately respond to requests for one.
24-year-old Amisha Munjal moved to New Delhi to be closer to her family and a fresh start. It has been anything but for the finance executive, as toxic air in the world's most polluted capital has sent her health spiralling. The hazardous haze is wreaking havoc with her allergies, resulting in relentless coughing, sore throats and breathlessness. She's been forced indoors and into a debilitating routine.
I can't even go out for getting the basic groceries. I have to either order it online. I can't do a lot of exercises. I can't go to the gym. I can't go for a walk downstairs. I can't even go to the balcony to do yoga because the air is just so bad.
A nebulizer and medicines have eased symptoms, but her doctor has told her to move out of the city or face severe health consequences such as pneumonia.
Which is obviously very heartbreaking. Like, I have to leave my house, I have to leave the city that I've grown up in just because of the air.
Air quality in northern India has deteriorated over the past week, reaching severe levels. Readings of dangerous particle matter, which can be carried into the lungs, were more than 120 times the World Health Organization's recommended levels on Wednesday morning in Delhi, IQ Air said. Ear, nose and throat consultant Dr. Munish Taneja says this is a common issue for allergy sufferers around this time of year.
Every year this season is like that. Whenever people who have some sort of mild allergy, they come to Delhi, they get affected because of the pollution, and all their allergies and ENT infections and chest infections go up. So they obviously, of course I advise them if it is possible for them to move out, better to stay away from this place and stay at places where the pollution is not much.
India's government has banned non-essential construction in the city and urged residents to use public transport and avoid burning coal for heating. Water with dust suppressants is being sprinkled on roads, as well as mechanised sweeping that would help settle dust. The city battles smog, a toxic mix of smoke and fog, every winter as cold air traps dust, emissions and smoke from illegal farm fires. Officials blamed high pollution, combined with humidity, becalmed winds and a drop in temperature for the smog.
Voters headed to the polls in Gabon on Saturday to vote in a referendum on a new constitution. It's a major step towards establishing democratic rule after a coup ousted the Bongo dynasty last year, though observers fear the ruling junta may use the process to remain in power. The proposed new constitution introduces 2 term limits on the presidency, with each lasting 7 years. It also removes the position of prime minister and recognizes French as Gabon's working language. General Brice Oligui Nguema, the interim president who seized power in a coup last year, said he felt joy and pride after casting his ballot, and that, quote, voting was now transparent. The majority of posters in Libreville in the run-up to the election have urged voters to pass the proposed legislation. On Saturday, voting stations were quiet in the morning but actively picked up as the day wore on. Military officers toppled the government in August last year. The ousted president Ali Bongo had ruled since 2009. His father Omar had ruled since 1967. It was the 8th coup in West and Central Africa since 2020. The referendum on the constitution delivers on a promise by military coup leaders. Under a tentative timetable proposed last year, presidential elections will take place in the summer of 2025. But some observers worry that the process may be bent in favor of the country's new rulers. While transitional leaders are barred from running for the presidency, an exception has been made for Nguema.